You are not in control. You think you are. You tell yourself that you make your own choices, that your desires are yours, that your reactions are justified. But look closer. Strip away the illusion. You are pulled by invisible strings. You crave validation from people you don't even respect. You hesitate in front of opportunities you secretly want. You wait. You overthink. You ask for permission from a world that has already decided it owes you nothing. And because you ask, the world keeps you waiting. This is the silent contract you've signed without realizing it. The moment you need, you kneel. The moment you want, you lower yourself. Desire, as you experience it, is not power. It is exposure. It is weakness, dressed up as ambition. But here's the truth most people will never dare to confront. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the known world, did not spend his time learning how to control others. He did not obsess over strategies to extract obedience, admiration, or desire. Instead, he waged a far more brutal war against the fragile, needy voice inside his own mind. While he commanded armies, he wrote to himself in silence. Not about conquest, not about dominance, but about discipline, about perception, about control over the only territory that truly matters. Because he understood something that would terrify most modern minds. The man who needs nothing controls everything. Let that sink in. Not the loudest man, not the richest, not the most admired, the one who is internally untouchable, the one who cannot be manipulated by praise or destroyed by rejection. The one who does not bend when the world withholds approval. That is the man the world cannot control, and that is the man the world eventually obeys. What you are about to learn is not self-improvement. This is not about becoming happier, more positive, or more likable. Those are distractions. Those are tools designed to keep you compliant, predictable, manageable. This is something else. This is a psychological dissection. We are going to strip away the illusions you've been taught to worship. We are going to dismantle the emotional reflexes that keep you weak. We are going to expose the hidden mechanics of desire, control, and perception until you see reality not as it comforts you, but as it actually is. And once you see it clearly, something dangerous happens. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop reacting. You start taking. But be warned, once you see the strings, you can never go back to being a puppet. And what comes at the end of this is the most dangerous realization of all, because it will force you to confront a question most people spend their entire lives avoiding. If nothing outside of you has power over you, then what exactly has been holding you back this entire time? Let's begin the surgery. Let's begin the surgery. Law 1, the erasure of the victim. The first thing you must understand is this. Every time you feel wronged, you are surrendering power. Not because the world is fair. It isn't. Not because people are kind. They aren't. But because your reaction is a confession that something outside of you has authority over your internal state. You feel disrespected. You feel rejected. You feel overlooked. Look at the pattern. Every one of those emotions begins with the same hidden statement. They have the power to define me, and that is the position of a subordinate. Marcus Aurelius dismantled this illusion with surgical precision. He wrote, "Remove the judgment, and you remove the suffering. Remove the thought I am harmed, and the harm disappears." Most people read that and misunderstand it. They think it means suppression, pretending, ignoring reality. Wrong. This is not denial. This is domination. Because the pain you experience is not the event itself. It is your interpretation of the event. An insult is not pain, it is sound. Rejection is not pain, it is an outcome. Failure is not pain, it is data. Pain begins the moment you assign meaning, and meaning is a choice, but you don't treat it like one. You let it run automatically. Someone ignores your message. You create a story. I'm not important. Your boss criticizes you. You create a story. I'm not good enough. A deal falls through. You create a story. I'm losing. You are not reacting to reality. You are reacting to your own uncontrolled narrative. This is why you feel powerless, because you are living inside interpretations you never consciously chose. The imperial mind does something different. It pauses, it dissects. He insulted me. No, that is already distorted. A more accurate statement. He produced a sound shaped by his perception, filtered through his limitations. Why should that become your reality? It shouldn't. So you delete it. Not emotionally, not dramatically, clinically. You remove the judgment. And what remains? Silence, control, neutrality. This is where power begins. Because a man who cannot be emotionally hijacked cannot be controlled. Think about it. What can you do to someone who refuses to be offended? What leverage do you have over someone who does not need your approval? What weapon works against someone who does not react? None. He becomes untouchable. And here is the paradox most people will never understand. The moment you stop reacting, people start watching. The moment you stop needing, people start offering. The moment you stop chasing, things start moving toward you. Because neediness repels, control attracts. So here is your first discipline. When something happens, anything, do not label it. Do not say, this is bad. Do not say, this is unfair. Say only this. This happened. Nothing more. Separate the fact from the story, because the fact cannot hurt you. Only the story can. Delete the story, and you remain in control. And a man in control and does not ask the world for anything. He decides. Law 2, the biological dissection. Now we go deeper. You don't fail to get what you want because you are incapable. You fail because you are intimidated. And intimidation is not caused by reality. It is caused by illusion. You look at the thing you desire, a position, a person, a lifestyle, and you inflate it. You decorate it. You turn it into something larger than life, something sacred, something above you. And the moment you do that, you shrink. Because whatever you place on a pedestal, you place yourself beneath. This is why you hesitate. This is why your voice tightens in important rooms. This is why your behavior changes around people you perceive as high value. This is why you chase instead of choose. You are not reacting to reality. You are reacting to a fantasy your own mind constructed. Marcus Aurelius understood this weakness, and he destroyed it with something brutally simple. He stripped everything down to its raw biological truth. Luxury food, dead animals, expensive wine, fermented grapes, royal clothing, dyed fabric soaked in chemicals, sex, a mechanical process driven by instinct and dopamine. No poetry, no illusion, no glamour, just matter, just biology. Why? Because when you remove the story, you remove the power it has over you. Look at your own life. You are nervous to speak to someone important. Why? Strip it down. He is a human organism. He wakes up tired. He doubts himself. He ages. He will die. So why are you trembling? You are obsessed with someone you find attractive. Why? Strip it down. You are not obsessed with them. You are addicted to the emotional projection you created, the anticipation, the fantasy. Remove the projection, and what remains? A person, imperfect, temporary, human. And suddenly your fear disappears. This is not about becoming cold for the sake of it. This is about becoming accurate, because accuracy destroys intimidation. The man who sees illusion becomes nervous. The man who sees reality becomes precise. He negotiates better. He speaks clearer. He moves faster, because he is no longer overwhelmed by imagined value. Here is the shift you must make. Stop asking, why do I want this so badly? Start asking, what is this really? Break it apart, dissect it, reduce it to its base components. Because once you see things for what they are, you stop worshiping them. And once you stop worshiping, you can finally take. Law 3, the view from above. Now we go even deeper into the structure of your fear. Most of your problems are not real problems. They are distortions of scale. You are zoomed in too close. You are staring at a single moment, an awkward interaction, a missed opportunity, a rejection, and you treat it as if it defines your entire existence. You magnify it. You inflate it. You turn a fragment into a universe, and then you panic inside it. But this is not reality. This is perspective failure. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire collapsing under war, plague, and betrayal. He had every reason to feel overwhelmed, every reason to react emotionally, but he didn't. He zoomed out. He trained his mind to rise above the immediate moment and observe life from a higher vantage point, from above cities, above nations, above time itself. From that altitude, everything changes. Your argument, insignificant. Your embarrassment, invisible. Your fear, meaningless. Because from a distance, your entire life becomes what it actually is, a brief flicker. You are a temporary organism on a rock, floating through an indifferent universe. The people you are trying to impress, temporary. The ones judging you, temporary. The memory of your failure, temporary. All of it disappears. So why are you acting like this moment is permanent? Why are you hesitating like this decision will echo forever? It won't. In 50 years, most of what you fear today will not even exist in memory. In 100 years, you will not exist. Neither will anyone involved in your current concerns. This is not depressing. This is liberation. Because if nothing lasts, then nothing can trap you. The fear of embarrassment collapses. The fear of failure weakens. The fear of judgment becomes irrelevant. And when fear loses weight, action becomes easy. This is the shift. The average man zooms in and becomes emotional. The disciplined man zooms out and becomes dangerous. Because he is no longer playing for approval, he is playing freely. He asks the question others avoid. He takes the risk others delay. He moves when others freeze. Not because he is fearless, but because he understands something they don't. The stakes are an illusion. When you remove the illusion of importance, you remove hesitation. So here is your discipline. When you feel pressure, pause, zoom out, see your life from above. See this moment as one frame in a sequence that will soon disappear. And then ask yourself, does this really matter? Most of the time, it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you are free to act without restraint. That is where power begins. Not in control over others, but in the ability to move without the weight of imagined consequences. Law 4, the inner citadel. Now we enter the core, not your actions, not your desires, your territory, your mind. Because right now, it is not yours. You think it is. But observe closely. Your mood shifts based on notifications. Your thoughts are influenced by headlines. Your confidence rises and falls depending on other people's reactions. That is not sovereignty, that is occupation. You have allowed the external world to install itself inside your head. Voices, opinions, fears, expectations. They move freely through your mind. Unchecked, unchallenged. And then you wonder why you feel scattered, why you hesitate, why you cannot think clearly under pressure, because you are not alone in your own mind. Marcus Aurelius described a concept most people ignore, the inner citadel, a place within you that must remain untouched. Untouched by praise, untouched by insult, untouched by chaos, a mental fortress. But here is the problem. Most of you have left the gates open. Anyone can walk in. A stranger's comment ruins your focus. A piece of news dictates your emotions. A comparison on social media plants insecurity. You are not thinking. You are reacting to intrusions. So understand this clearly. Attention is not passive. It is a resource. And right now, it is being stolen. Every time you indulge a useless thought, you are funding your own weakness. Every time you allow an external trigger to dictate your internal state, you are handing over control. The imperial mind does the opposite. It enforces borders. A thought appears, pause. Ask one question. Does this serve me? If the answer is no, eliminate it. No debate, no attachment, no emotional involvement. Remove it. You feel anger rising from something irrelevant. Cut it off. You feel envy from someone's success. Cut it off. You feel distracted by noise. Cut it off. This is not suppression. This is selection, because power comes from what you allow to remain. Inside the citadel, there is only one authority. Your will, not your impulses, not your fears, not the world. You. And when you operate from that place, something changes. You stop reacting. You start responding. Calmly, precisely, deliberately. While others are emotional, you are calculating. While others are scattered, you are focused. While others are controlled, you are in command. This is what makes you dangerous. Not aggression, not force, clarity. Because a man who controls his mind cannot be controlled by anything else. So reclaim your territory, close the gates, silence the noise, and build something inside that no external force can touch. That is your foundation. Everything else comes after. Law 5. Amor Fati. The weaponization of fate. Now we reach a turning point. Up until now, you've been learning how to defend your mind, how to remove illusions, how to stay untouched. But this is where defense ends and dominance begins. Because it's not enough to resist reality, you must consume it. Most people tolerate what happens to them. Some accept it, but very few weaponize it. Marcus Aurelius demanded something radical, not just acceptance of fate, but love of it. Amor Fati. Love what happens, not because it is good, but because it is useful. This is where the weak and the dangerous separate. The weak say, "Why is this happening to me?" The dangerous say, "How do I use this?" Same event, different outcome. You lose an opportunity. The average man feels defeated. He hesitates. He questions himself. The imperial mind sees fuel. Now there is pressure. Now there is urgency. Now there is fire. Good, you get rejected. The average man collapses into insecurity. The imperial mind redirects. More time, more focus, more space to build. Good, something breaks in your life. Plans fail, people leave, conditions shift. The average man resists, complains, waits for things to return to normal. But the imperial mind understands something critical. There is no normal. There is only material. And material can always be burned. Imagine two fires, a candle and a wildfire. Throw obstacles at the candle, it dies. Throw obstacles at the wildfire, it grows. Most people are candles, fragile, conditional, dependent on perfect circumstances. You must become the fire, where everything that happens, good or bad, becomes energy. Failure becomes instruction. Pain becomes focus. Loss becomes freedom. Nothing is wasted. This is not optimism. This is strategy. Because when you adopt this mindset, something terrifying happens. You become impossible to stop. There is no scenario that weakens you. There is no outcome that destroys you. There is no failure that ends you. Everything feeds you. Think about that. How do you defeat someone who gets stronger every time they lose? How do you break someone who adapts instantly to every condition? You don't, and that is the point. So here is your discipline. Stop asking if something is good or bad. Ask only, can I use this? If the answer is yes, it becomes an advantage. And the truth is, if you are sharp enough, the answer is always yes. This is how you stop being controlled by circumstance. This is how you stop waiting for perfect timing. This is how you start moving, regardless of conditions. Because when everything becomes fuel, you no longer need luck. You become the force that creates it. Law 6, the social web. Now we shift outward. Because no matter how disciplined you become, you still live among people. And people are not rational. They are not fair. They are not consistent. They are not logical. They are driven by ego, fear, desire, insecurity. In other words, they are predictable, but only if you stop expecting them to be something they are not. Marcus Aurelius understood this before most people even recognize it. He reminded himself every morning, the people I meet will be selfish, arrogant, dishonest, envious. Not as a complaint, as preparation, because expectation determines reaction. If you expect fairness, you will feel betrayed. If you expect honesty, you will feel shocked. If you expect kindness, you will feel disappointed. But if you expect reality, you remain calm. And calm gives you clarity. Most people lose power in social situations because they take things personally. They react emotionally to behavior that is completely predictable. Someone lies, you get offended. Someone acts selfish, you get angry. Someone ignores you, you feel disrespected. Why? Because you expected them to behave differently. That is your mistake. The imperial mind does not judge human nature. It studies it. It observes patterns instead of reacting to them. Because once you understand the pattern, you can use it. This is where the game changes. You stop trying to change people and start positioning yourself around what they already are. An arrogant man does not want truth. He wants validation. A fearful man does not want risk. He wants safety. An ambitious man does not want advice. He wants advantage. So you give them what they already seek. Not out of kindness, out of precision. You align your objective with their nature, and suddenly, resistance disappears because people rarely oppose what benefits them. This is the mistake most make. They push against others. They argue, they convince, they force, and they meet friction. But power does not come from force. It comes from alignment, from understanding where people are weak and where they are driven. Then positioning yourself accordingly. You are no longer reacting inside the system. You are navigating it, like a strategist, like an architect. So stop asking, why are people like this? That question is useless. Ask instead, given that people are like this, how do I move? Because once you accept human nature, you stop being surprised by it. And once you stop being surprised, you start being in control. Law 7, Memento Mori, the urgency of death. Now we remove the final illusion, time. You behave as if you have it. You delay decisions. You postpone action. You tell yourself, I'll do it later. Later, a word built on arrogance, because it assumes something you do not control, that you will still be here. Marcus Aurelius confronted this illusion daily. He reminded himself of a truth most people spend their lives avoiding. You could leave life right now, not someday, not eventually, now. And that single realization changes everything, because hesitation requires the belief in tomorrow. Fear requires the belief in a future where consequences matter. But when you truly understand that your time is limited, something inside you shifts. You stop negotiating with triviality. You stop caring about embarrassment. You stop delaying uncomfortable actions. You stop wasting energy on things that do not matter, because suddenly, everything becomes clear. Imagine this. If you had 1 year left, would you still hesitate to take that opportunity? If you had 1 month left, would you still worry about what people think? If you had 1 day left, would you still avoid difficult conversations? No, you would act. Directly, honestly, immediately. Because urgency removes illusion. It strips away the unnecessary and forces you into what is essential. This is why most people remain stuck. Not because they lack ability, but because they believe they have time. So they drift, they scroll, they wait, they overthink, while their potential decays, second by second. The imperial mind does not wait for a deadline. It creates one. It lives as if every action could be its last. Not in panic, but in precision. Every move becomes intentional. Every decision becomes sharp. Every moment becomes valuable. Because it is. Understand this. Death is not an enemy. It is a filter. It cuts away distractions. It eliminates excuses. It forces clarity. And when you carry that awareness, you become dangerous, because you are no longer controlled by fear. Fear is a luxury of those who think they have endless time. You don't. So stop acting like you do. Here is your discipline. Before any action, ask yourself, if this were my last chance, would I still hesitate? If the answer is no, then move immediately. Because the difference between the average man and the one who gets everything he wants is simple. One believes he has time, the other knows he doesn't, and acts accordingly. Law 8, Premeditatio Malorum, immunity to chaos. Now we enter the final layer, not control, not discipline, immunity. Because no matter how strong you become, life will still hit you, unexpectedly, violently, without warning. And most people break, not because the event is too much, but because they were not prepared to experience it. They spend their time fantasizing about success, visualizing victory, imagining perfect outcomes. And when reality deviates from that script, They collapse. Why? Because they train their minds for comfort, not impact. Marcus Aurelius did the opposite. He trained for disaster. Before battles, he imagined betrayal. Before decisions, he imagined failure. Before peace, he imagined loss. Not out of fear, out of strategy. Because what you have already faced in your mind cannot shock you in reality. This is the principle most people avoid. They don't want to think about losing money. They don't want to imagine rejection. They don't want to visualize failure. So when it happens, it destroys them. Not because it is unbearable, but because it is unfamiliar. The imperial mind removes that weakness. It walks directly into the worst-case scenario, voluntarily. You are afraid of going broke? Then see it. Not vaguely, not abstractly. See the empty account. Feel the uncertainty. Imagine the discomfort. Stay there. And then notice something. You are still alive. You are still breathing. You are still capable of moving. The fear begins to weaken because you realize something most people never understand. The worst-case scenario is survivable. And the moment you truly accept that, you become dangerous. Because now, there is nothing left to threaten you. You take bigger risks. You act more decisively. You move without hesitation. Not because you expect to win, but because you are prepared to lose. And that changes everything. The man who needs success is tense. The man who is ready for failure is relaxed. And in any game, business, social, life, the relaxed player wins because he is not controlled by fear. So here is your final discipline. Before any major move, run the simulation. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen? Then go deeper. Experience it mentally. Accept it. Normalize it. Because once the worst no longer scares you, nothing can stop you. And when nothing can stop you, you stop playing defensively. You start playing to dominate. That is the final shift, from fragile to untouchable. And now, you see it, not as motivation, not as inspiration, but as structure. You started this looking for a way to get what you want, more control, more success, more leverage over your reality. But what you discovered is something far more dangerous. You don't get what you want by chasing it. You get it by removing everything that makes you need it. Think about what you've done. You erased the victim. You stripped illusion from desire. You crushed the weight of perspective. You built a mind no one can enter. You turned pain into fuel. You learned to navigate people without emotion. You killed the illusion of time. You prepared yourself for the worst until fear had nothing left to hold on to. At that point, something changes. You stop reacting. You stop waiting. You stop asking. And when that happens, the world starts responding differently to you. People feel it. They don't understand it, but they feel it. The stillness, the control, the absence of need, and it unsettles them. Because most people are driven by lack. They need validation, they need approval, they need reassurance. You don't. And that makes you unpredictable, dangerous, free. But understand this clearly. This path is not comfortable. It will isolate you. Because when you stop playing by the emotional rules of the crowd no longer recognizes you. They will call you cold. They will call you arrogant. They will say you've changed. They're right. You have. You no longer react the way they do. You no longer seek what they seek. You no longer depend on what they depend on. And that creates distance. So here is the final choice. Comfort or control. Belonging or power. You can return to the familiar patterns, reacting, chasing, needing, or you can step fully into this mindset and accept what comes with it. Silence, discipline, isolation, but also clarity, precision, freedom. Because at the highest level, there is no chaos. There is only those who react to it and those who shape it. But there is one more thing, a final layer most people will never access. Because what you've seen here is only what can be shown publicly. There are deeper strategies, darker patterns, methods of influence and control that go far beyond what can be discussed openly. Not because they don't exist, But because they are not meant for everyone, if this opened your eyes, understand this is only what I can show publicly. There are videos I cannot upload for everyone. There are aspects of dark psychology that I simply cannot discuss publicly without being censored or restricted. The system suppresses the most powerful information. Those exist behind the join button. If you're still here, you're not like the others. Subscribe if you haven't, but if you want what's hidden, click the join button and step into the architect level. That's where the real transformation begins. Most won't. That's the point. I'll see you in the dark.